What is up, everyone? It's Thomas with Real Broker here in St. Augustine, Florida, coming at you live every Wednesday at 8 p.m., going over the market stats, the news you need to know about, everything about buying, selling, or investing here in Northeastern Florida. And we're also doing a Q&A. So if you have any questions while you're watching any of the news stories and the stats I cover, if you have any questions about a neighborhood you live in, food to eat here, leave them in the comments below. I'll answer them here live. And if you're watching the replay, I'll come back and leave the answer in the comments if I can. So this week, it's going to be a little different than most other weeks. I'm going to just do the market stats, and I have a handful of news stories that are more or less updates. I had a pretty busy day today. Baby appointments, real estate appointments, negotiations on appraisals and contracts, and I really didn't have too much time for the news this week. But I did start looking through some data last week. I have some really interesting data points that I think show two sides. It's two tails of the market here, and I think that's something that I want to put forward as I'm looking at this data. And every week we look at the news data or the statistical data on real estate. That's not going to be any different this week, except I'm going to do a little bit more of a deep dive in that than spending more time on the news stories. So without further ado, we'll hop right into that. Going live on Instagram, Realtor. So this is the Northeastern Florida area. We're talking about all the counties in Northeastern Florida, which makes up of Baker, Bradford, Clay, Duval, Flagler, Nassau, Putnam, and St. John's. Obviously, we really only care about St. John's County, and this is a really interesting statistic. So down 8.3% for the month of April. This is actually revised because it was 5.6% the other day. So that is something that I think is really interesting. I wonder if I can pull up my Instagram here because I did a pretty good infographic on it, I think. Okay, let's go to my profile. Here we go. So just 5.6% it was down. Should you be worried? Let's break it down. And I think this is still following the same logic here. But median sale price April year over year. April of 2024 was $540. 2025 was $510. So there's a $30,000 drop in month over month or year over year, which sounds pretty crazy. But when you take a look at last year and how our market moves in seasonality, which moves, typically we see our peak pricing in the summer. Normally that's around June, July timeframe. Last year we saw a peak in April, and then in May it went to 530, June 525, and then again peaked in July at 540. So it does look scary when you see a 5.6% or an 8% price drop, right? And that's something that should bring you concern. But when you actually zoom out, look at the statistics of the market, you see that compared to last year, our market actually popped pretty early. Typically, we see the highest prices in June, July, right? May, June, July. In April of last year, we hit the highest price of the year. And then it declined during the summer months, which is not normal, and then increased at the very end for July. It hit 540. So essentially, we always want to look at the data. As we move into the summer months here, sorry, I don't know why I switched that back. As we move into the summer months, the median sale price is going to be really important to look at, especially when we're looking at June and July versus June and July of last year. So I think that's going to be a good talking point for the future here. Year to date, I think, and I'll pull this up with the other graph. Let's see. Year to date, I believe we're still up. Let's go here. January 2025. So when I did this the other day, we were up 6.3%. Now it's been down to 3.1%. So year to date, we're still up, still in an upward trend for this year. But the summer is really going to dictate, okay, are we staying flat? Are we going down? Are we going up? I think that's really going to be the difference maker in these next couple months, which is typically the peak of our market. Now, we're here in St. John's County, right? This is the only thing we're looking at. The one thing that I found that was really interesting is when we take a look at days on market for closed sales, right? So days on market is the median number of days a property is active between the list date and the contract date reported in the closed month. So this is only for close, right? So only homes that have gone under contract and went to the closing table, buyer and seller agreed, finally closed, right? 34 days on market, which is really interesting, right? I just showed you statistics that might make you think like, oh, our market's not doing too well, down 8%, right? But if you look at January, we're at 60 days on market, 68 days on market, and it's steadily come down to 34 days on market for closed sales. So I'm going to harp on this a lot, but what we're talking about here is only homes that have closed, right? We're not looking at the entire market of all the homes that are active on the market, because I see it, you see it. There are more homes on the market in St. Johns County than there were the previous 2 years. We're back at pretty much pre-pandemic levels, right? So keep that in mind. We're not super plus inventory. We don't have a whole bunch of inventory. We're back at pre-pandemic levels where prices were still rising. So when we keep that in context, I think it's interesting. It's telling you the tale of two markets, which is what I was saying earlier. You have the homes that are move-in ready and priced correctly are selling very quickly, and they're selling in a short amount of time. 34 days is not a long time at all. Now, let's see here. They have days on market. Let's see. Boom, boom, boom. On market metrics. I just want to pull up this other data point here. I had it the other day. Maybe it was days on market pending. Let me see if that tracks. See, even days on market pending is still, so this is the median days on market before a property hits a contract date. So 46 days is not crazy. So that's on average across the entire market. So a lot of these homes aren't making it to the closing table. Otherwise, it'd be a lot closer to that 33 days. So there's something happening there. Maybe contracts falling apart. Maybe it is. I know they had it here the other day. Maybe I'm skipping it. Let's see. List to close days. Maybe that was it. Yes, here we go. So this is the median number of days between a property is listed and the closing date, including non-active and active periods. So this is pretty much everything. 79 days. Once again, it's going down, which is what we would expect for the summer months. But the tale of two markets is right there, right? We have homes that are closing are going under contract in a matter of a month, right? So you have this home that's priced right and move-in ready. That's moving. That's selling very quickly. Everything else is not. 79 days to close, right? List to close days on average across our entire market. So you have things that are closing in a short amount of time, like the 30 days, and you have stuff that's going way past that, which is dragging that number up. So my whole point with this, and to put a bow on it, is that most of our listings here in the market are considered overpriced, that are active on the market. And how do I know that? Well, just what I just showed you here, right? The things that are best, that move-in ready and priced well, are going to the closing table. Stuff that is closing in a short amount of time, right? So I had my buddy Alex at the Market Distillery pull the days for this. So this is for just St. Johns County and active listings. So this is showing less than 60 days here, 90 days. 46% of our market, which is this group right here, under the 60 days is potentially priced right, while 54% of our market is stale, right? So you have past the 90 days. I mean, you have homes that are past the 90 days, past the 6-month mark, you have, hundreds and hundreds of homes. So that is something to keep in mind if you are looking to buy a home here. The best homes, the homes that you probably like the most saved on Zillow, are moving quickly still. The homes that need a little bit of work, maybe aren't in the best location, has something negative against it for some reason, those are sitting for a good bit of time, right? And I think that's important information to know if you are looking to buy a home in today's market. Okay, so I spent a lot of time on market stats, guys. Let me know if any of that made sense to you. I'll try and put a more polished video out on that. I'd like to do more videos on the stats, but they just take a ton of time to make sure I get my point across and bunch all the information correctly. They take a ton of time, and most of the time, most people don't care, which is kind of funny. I care about it, but either way, on to the next news story, guys. Any questions, let me know. Okay, we got another new townhome community coming. St. Johns County Commission narrowly approves 297 townhome development amid traffic wetland concerns. So this is going to be off County Road 210. This is the site location here, which is 210 is right here. Sandy Creek is down this way. This is Beach Walk over here, Beacon Lake. Here's I-95. So the site location is going to go just south of there. And if you live in the area, or if you're familiar with any of my videos, the reason that this is not a big, people aren't super excited about that. Pretty much any new development that's coming to our area, people are not excited about. Citing issues with just cost of living here in the area, traffic and congestion, infrastructure with our schools. A lot of problems have been going on with that, right? Just because we've had so many people move to our area in such a short amount of time. So locals aren't happy. They're also like, hey, this used to be farmland. Now it's a subdivision. And that all happened very quickly. So any home that gets put, any development, this is a small development. 297 townhomes is a small development in reality. We have another one here, which I've covered before, Agrihood, that's 3,000 homes. Silverleaf is 18,000 homes. Most of our master plan communities are 2,000 homes plus, right? Or at least a lot of the newer ones. So this really isn't something to be concerned about, but the location that it's in, off of 210, already has infrastructure issues, traffic issues, and just an influx of people living there because it's the northern part of St. Johns County, very easy to commute into Jacksonville, and also everything off of 210 is pretty much new. Just built a new hospital there, Beacon Lake, Beach Walk, Nocatee, Shearwater, Rivertown, Silverleaf, all off of 210. And those are just the new communities, right? So the traffic in that area is not great, but also infrastructure is lagging behind. If you drive down there, you see it and you know what it is. So the locals are not super excited about this one. Probably better than the 3,000 home development there, but that is what it is. If you live in the area, let me know what you think about it. I mean, if you're off of 210, you're just like, oh, another development. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. All right. Any questions, let me know. On to the next news story here. We're talking about downtown St. Augustine. I've covered this before, but the AC Hotel by Marriott is going to open in the fall. This is a rendering of what it's going to look like. If you're familiar where the San Sebastian Winery is, it's pretty much that lot like adjacent to it where they're going to be building this. But it's supposed to be pretty sweet. It's going to be, if you've ever stayed at an AC hotel, they're probably one of the higher end branches of Marriott. The hotel will feature 142 rooms across 4 floors. It will also include the AC lounge and kitchen, a fitness center, and a lounge pool with 1,500 square feet of flexible meeting space. The hotel will be able to host weddings, corporate meetings, and other events. So they've already started it. See it every time I go downtown. It's going to change that area. I mean, that area has already changed. If you're a local here, you know what that area has gone through over the several decades. Let's say the last 20 years, it's changed drastically. It used to be extremely affordable. Now it's not affordable really at all. But beautiful little area in Lincolnville there. But I think that land was vacant for a long time, right? So I'm glad that they're actually doing something with it, providing jobs to the area, all that good stuff. But it doesn't necessarily, in my opinion, like people are really upset about this in St. Augustine. They're like, oh, great, another hotel. But in reality, that's what we do here in St. Augustine. We're a tourist town, right? People come and visit. Having places for people to stay in St. Augustine is ultimately a good thing, right? And in terms of like, oh, it's going to affect the traffic in downtown St. Augustine during tourist season, like, well, the tourist season in downtown St. Augustine is already pretty bad, right? When you're going in the peak of summer or like end of December, it's pretty bad. This isn't going to make it that much worse. I mean, it's going to be worse, right? It's more people, more cars, more whatever. But they're going to have parking. And what else are you going to do with that land? I think it makes the most sense, the best use for that property, especially with all the tourism down there. So let me know what you guys think. Do you think that's a bad take on that? I don't know. It's just my perspective. I like to think of the highest and best use of something. If that's a tourist industry, why not have a hotel there or a restaurant, something else, that people can use aside from vacant land. So, on to the next news story. No questions here. I got one more, guys. That's it. We went a little bit deeper in the market stats this week than we normally do. But this is what I was talking about. So, proposal for 3,000 home agrihood development to be reconsidered. So, I covered this, I want to say about 6 months ago, and it got denied. And a lot of stuff is getting denied. That was around election season where people actually ran on slowing the development here in St. Johns County. So, if you're familiar with St. Augustine, this is State Road 16, County Road 208. This is, if you're familiar with West Augustine, this is going to be King Street Extension. And then this is known as 214, County Road 214. 207 is right here. This is I-95. So this is a complete rural area. Really, once you get development has started happening here, there's some new construction here by D.R. Horton and LGI Homes. There's some other bigger lot subdivision over here. But for the most part, this is really rural land past 4 Mile Road here in North Holmes Boulevard. So this got proposed, which is going to be 3,000 homes, which I think they brought it out to be like, okay, that's going to bring an additional 9,500 people to that area, which in reality is a lot of people influx to that area. It was denied, and that was during the peak of the election season when people were running on that. It's now back. They want it to be reconsidered, and we'll see what happens. It still has a potential to be moved forward, but as of right now, St. Johns County is, and the locals here are 100% against. At least that's the feeling. I feel that when I'm looking at social media and everything, people are like, "Let's stop this right now." I think it's short-sighted, and I totally understand. I grew up here. Like, I'm from New York, but I grew up here as a kid. I went to the local schools here and everything, and it's changed a lot, no doubt about it. Every place has changed, though. Literally every place 20 years ago is way different than it is today. If we don't build any more homes, then prices of homes that are currently here will continue to go up, which makes it less affordable for the locals here. So agrihood is not that answer, right? That's not an affordable house. Maybe that's the answer is like, hey, out of those 3,300 homes, maybe 10%, 20% of these homes need to be affordable housing, right? I don't know what they have as of right now, but I imagine that's probably the biggest barrier is like, hey, we're going to create this new development. And by the way, none of the locals are going to be able to afford here. And that's probably the biggest sticking point with the locals is like, all right, well, who's making this money that can afford here? And it's pretty much people moving from South Florida, people moving from New York and Pennsylvania and California. They're working remote. They have a different scalability in terms of their money. And when they come down here, they see what they can get for 400, 500,000. They're like, dang, this is cheap. People here, 400, 500,000 is a ton of money, especially if you're working here locally. So there's not a right answer. Not a right answer. Let's see. We got JJ in the house. Once the roads are done, CR 210, County Road 210, Silverleaf, First Coast Expressway will be super accessible. For sure. For sure. I agree. I think 210 is still going to be a little bit of a mess. But the First Coast Expressway should alleviate some of that. But that's only going to put more pressure on 95 in that section, which is pretty much where the First Coast Expressway is going to be intersecting with, right around that area. And it's going to go through Silverleaf. But I guess you're right. Like if it goes through Silverleaf, that whole area, and there's on-ramps throughout that area, it's going to take that pressure off of people needing to go to 210 and I-95. So yes, 2029, it'll be better, right? Because that's when they're estimated to be done with the First Coast Expressway. So I just think, JJ, I appreciate your comment for sure. But I'm just, as a local, and I don't even live off 210. For me, it's really, no skin off my teeth. Another 1,000 home development gets put up there. Doesn't matter to me. But if you're living there right now and you're going through the pressure of like having to go to 95 and 210 every day, you're disliking life. I can guarantee that, or disliking that, another development. Oh my God, another one. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I think I'd have to agree with you, JJ. I think it will get better. It's just time, right? We have to give it time. Who could have predicted what we saw in St. Johns County after the pandemic? In 2019, people were talking about a real estate crash. People are talking about real estate crash every year, by the way. But in 2019, they were thinking it was going to happen in St. Johns County. Median sale price was like $300,000. And you look back and just short 5 years ago, you're like, man, how silly. How silly to think like St. Johns County, you could buy a home on the beach for like 300, 400,000. Wouldn't get more expensive than that, right? Like, I don't know. Hindsight, right? We got JJ again. Congrats on the little one. When your daughter graduates, the roads will be done. You're probably right. I'll do my best. I'm an angry driver. I think I'm a different person when I drive. So having a student, she'll probably have to do like her student driving with her mom. But we'll see. I got a little bit of years before that. Funny enough, I was talking to another person about driving here, and they wouldn't let their daughter, they're from New York, they wouldn't let their daughter drive here in the area. And she's going to college, right? And I think here in Florida, you can get your permit at like 14. It's very young, where you see like kids driving. You're like, what the heck are you doing? But you get your learner's permit, I think at 14 or 15, still extremely early. Here in the area, well, in Florida, right? I don't know how many people would trust their 15-year-old with driving their vehicle, but here in Florida, it's cool. I liked it when I was a kid because I was going to a boarding school in Pennsylvania, but I got to come down here, get my Florida license, and I was legally allowed to drive, right? So that was cool. Hey, mate. I have a feeling who this is, but I'm not 100% sure. My man, Jeffrey. How you doing? Jeffrey, I gotta say, I've been creeping on your maybe Instagram or Facebook. I can't remember which one we're friends on, but I think we're friends on both. But seems like you're spending a little bit more time in St. Augustine than you originally thought. I hope you're liking it, my man. I appreciate you. Well, guys, listen, we got no more questions here. If you have any questions, throw them in the chat. I'll stay on here for like 30 more seconds, maybe a minute. But here every Wednesday, going over to the market stats, the news you know about, thinking about buying, selling, or investing here in northeastern Florida. Side note, the Florida Club is, when you're talking about like affordability, living here locally, I feel like the Florida Clubs are really. I'm doing like a video on condos, and I was just thinking about um, the Florida. Jeffrey bought in the Florida Club, and for what you get, the area that you're in, what you pay. I mean, it's really a solid deal. Especially when you look at other condos and you talk about the fees as well. I think the Florida Club's a sweet little area. But maybe I'm biased. I don't know, Jeff. Let me know. Hope you're doing well. Either way, we got no more comments, no more questions here, guys. So here every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Going to the market stats. No, I already said that. Next Wednesday at 8 p.m. I'll see you guys. Have a good night. Talk to you later.